Afro Light Show, bringing the latest entertainment, inspiration, films, arts, events, icon profiles, interviews, in a light-hearted discussion format to brighten the day. Afro Light Show on Ben TV.
Hi, my name is Oluchukwu. I am a visual artist and a junior architect. I started studying fine art at the age of 11, and I remember as a child I hated the subject because coming fresh from Nigeria, I thought there's nothing such as drawing class or fine art courses. I couldn't understand the meaning of such a subject, and therefore I really struggled at the beginning. When I went to live in Italy, I really struggled with the notion of imagination and letting myself be free and using this notion of imagination to create something beautiful. But then with time and age, I guess I managed to conquer these barriers and then get better and more confident with my artwork. In 2013, I studied architecture, and I decided to study architecture because I've always loved science and art as well, and I wanted a combination of both. And I think architecture is a beautiful combination of the two because, it's science as well as poetry, and it's teamwork as well. So it's not just about you when it comes to art, for example. One thing I love about art is that you're always free to express yourself the way you best think is the right way to do it. And that's actually what art is about, because it should be the true expression of ourselves. And I really like observing around me. I like observing people. Most of my paintings and drawings are about people, and I like the way people engage with each other. I like seeing connections. I like seeing beauty that people can't see, and I like making these moments. I call them moments because that's what I like representing. I like representing these moments and making them iconic. I think this is what my art is about. And when it comes to design and architecture, I think it's funny because architecture, I struggled a lot when I first started architecture. My very first year, I remember it was terrible. And then I couldn't understand what design was about, because I remember every time I make something and I take it to the tutors would say, no, it was never good enough. So I felt like, maybe this is just not for me. Maybe architecture is not for me at all. And I thought of quitting. But knowing myself and knowing that I am someone that is completely addicted to hard work, I just wouldn't stop. And, I'm always willing to express myself in so many ways and understand what is wrong with what I did before. So the thing with architecture is that you always have to be ready to it, and I think it's not just about architecture, it's about life as a whole. You always have to be ready for a no, and the no will come from everybody. But if you believe in yourself, if you believe that this is your truth, and nobody literally can tell you what truth is, you are the only person that can tell yourself, this is true and this is my truth, and this is how best I think I want to represent it. And then everyone can say what they want to say, but it's yours and it's completely yours, and nobody can say anything about that. I think being a Nigerian girl, I understand most of our parents not wanting the children to study fine art or art as a whole, because it is a very tricky subject. It's very tricky because you can make it big, but you can also fail immensely. And it's always the fear of the parents, seeing the child failing in that way. But art is not just, this is one thing I think all Africans, I'm just going to focus on Nigerians because I don't want to generalize. all Nigerian parents and Nigerian people as a whole, they need to understand that art is not just about fine art. It's not just about drawing or painting or music, name it. Art is the true expression of one's self. Whenever you do something and you put all your spirit, all your energy and emotion inside that, that becomes art. And art doesn't have to be the way everyone expects it to be. That's one big characteristic about art, and that's why people are scared about it. But my advice to people is that this art of a thing is something that we need to embrace, because if you do not represent yourself, if you do not tell the world your true self, who will? I mean, we only live once, and then every day passes by, and for me, every day is eternity. So I live each day as if that was my last day. That would be my last day. So I think I understand most of our parents would want us to be doctors and engineers, but I would say if you want to study art, there's a lot to study, because I've studied all my life almost since I was 11, and there's a lot to study. And you have to remember, in this world right now, in 2017, there are so many artists out there. You will always find someone that's better than you. You will always find someone that comes up with something brand new, amazing, fantastic. And you will always feel left out, because you will always feel like your work is not good enough. What am I doing? But it's up to you to prove to the world that what you're doing is worth doing. So it's up to you to make your art worth it. So art might be in the form of science. You might like to experiment with different, in the lab, for example. You might create your form of art in that sort of area. And it doesn't have to be visual or anything, or music or anything like that. But I would say people need to be more accepting. People need to be more willing to experiment new things and let themselves go. Because if they don't do it now, when would they ever do that? From my own point of view, thinking if women are more artistic than men, I would disagree. And the reason being that is because, let's just remember, okay, I studied art in Italy, and the biggest artists, classical artists, are all men. Caravaggio, Michelangelo, you name them, Leonardo. I think being artistic is not gender specific. I think it's about spirituality. Art is something very spiritual, and it just has to do with how we connect with whatever we wish to connect to. So it has nothing to do with being a man or a woman. But one thing I would say is that I don't know if it's the society that depicts men in a certain way, stronger, or let's just say less soft than women. Maybe men have abandoned slowly their artistic, or rather spiritual side of their life, and women are more and more embracing this part of their life. So I think maybe this is how I would answer the question. Women nowadays are more and more embracing their spiritual part of life, while men, because of fashion or society, are abandoning that part of their life. And I think it's a pity, because we need this at some point in our life. We will need that spirituality. So it's not gender specific at all. So I do commissioned work. Because I love working with people. That's one thing. I love commissioned work, because I feel inspired whenever I work with people. So if you feel like commissioning me, feel free. You can contact me via Facebook. My Facebook page is Oluchukwu. I also have a YouTube channel, Oluchukwu. And or through Instagram, art.oluchukwu. And you have all the information in these two pages. I also recently launched my first set of prints because I've decided to dedicate a small corner to African prints and photography. You know, I love painting and all that, but I also, being an architecture student, I also learned a lot about photography and textures. And this is something I want to absolutely bring into my art. And that's the reason why I created Oluchukwu Prints, which is a series of print work. You can buy them today at Ebony Street Market. If you go on my Instagram, just follow the link below and click on that. The link will be below. And yeah, choose your favorite prints, order it, and then you will get it as soon as possible. Give us, I don't mind, you can give me feedbacks about the prints. You can say, oh, you can literally tell me. I'm always willing, I'm very accepting when it comes to artwork and feedbacks. Just tell me what you feel, or if you want me to, you know, edit a particular artwork to suit your own vision, then we can talk about that. You know, I will be working soon with a client who wants to work with me by giving me her poems and stuff like that. So I'm always willing to work with people because, like I said, I get lots of inspiration by working with people. I enjoy that. I'm always willing to see how my artwork will evolve, because while I evolve as an artist, I expect my work to evolve too. You know, it's something that should be in function of me, but it is actually not. My work evolves, and I'm always astonished whenever I see my work myself. I'm always surprised.
Afro Light Show, bringing the latest entertainment, inspiration, films, arts, events, icon profiles, interviews, in a light-hearted discussion format to brighten the day. Afro Light Show on Ben TV.